welcome all to the Newcrown podcast. My name is Daryl, and I am back with another guest, another member or subject from the documentary Foreign Legacies, which will be linked in the description below. Introduce yourself, my friend.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lørra. That's my artist name, but you can call me Maria Lorraine, Maria Lorraine, Lorraine. Doesn't matter to me. I'm all those people. I'm a singer-songwriter, musical theater actress, audio engineer, and community worker, community organizer. And I'm happy to be here.
Damn,
Hi, friend.
damn, you've been busy.
Yeah, I've been a little busy.
So yeah, what was your experience like working on a documentary, being a subject of a documentary that was aired on TV? That's a question.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
I used to have a lot of trouble with, I don't know, maybe just like being in the spotlight. And it was the first time in a while that I had put myself in a position of attention. But I think I loved working on it, and I was kind of excited to work on it because I think I was ready to come back out. I think in the documentary I talked about how I had like a stalker and everything. And I think since then I've healed a lot. From it, and I'm not so worried about the attention anymore. I'm not so worried about the ideas in people's minds when they see me pass by or when they hear me talk. Like, you can form your opinion, and if you want to talk to me about how you feel about something, then we can talk about it. But if you're going to form your opinion on your own, that's on you. That's yours.
Mm.
So at first I was really nervous about the attention. Then it came out, and then I realized, like, some people are going to watch it and some people aren't. Some people are going to see that it's there and they're going to be like, oh my God, good job. I can't believe you were in this. And they're not even going to watch it. And some people will watch it and like actually get to know certain things that happened. And what's funny is that, like, the fact that it came out later, like, of course, production time, it doesn't release as it's done, right? So a lot of emotions or feelings that I had during the interview are so different than what I feel now. So it was also funny, like, responding to the fact that responding to a way of being that I wasn't anymore, because we're constantly evolving. So I think the biggest takeaway for me was just like, cool, like, I could be in this, and I could represent second generation immigrants and Filipinos in a way that can show other second generation immigrants and Filipinos that they can do something else other than being a nurse or a healthcare worker or a lawyer. Yeah.
What was the reaction of your loved ones, family members, friends, all of them? Was it mostly positive? Were there any reaction or not?
It was mostly positive. It was mostly positive. Um, yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't have any like problems or like, I was expecting more,
Mm,
like negative or positive attention, but I
mhm,
received less, and it was all positive. So
mm.
I don't have anything bad to say about it. I
Well,
felt
that's a
very
good. Well, that's a good thing. 'Cause a lot of people who were in the actual the were subjects of the documentary, or some of them were kind of, they had like secrets, or they weren't like really open to talk to their parents or the loved ones about stuff that they were going through personally, but they
Mm.
divulged it in the documentary. So a lot of them didn't, or some of them didn't show the documentary to these specific people, and
Mm.
so I'm curious, like, if did you feel like, does everyone know about the documentary? Your family know about it? Does your I know you have a brother. Does your brother know about it? And if
Oh
so,
yeah.
what did he
Um,
think?
oh, he thought it was awesome that I did it. I don't think he watched it, I'm gonna be
Mm,
honest. I think it's also being like, just the fact that it's on a different platform than what people usually use. It was just like a speed bump on the way to watching it. That all
mm,
they could really congratulate me for was like, "Oh my God, it's on CBC and you did that." You know what I
mhm,
mean? I think it
yeah.
was more. I heard more positive, but I think it was mainly on the like surface value of it. Sorry, more on the surface value of it than it was on the project itself and what it represented.
Not only were you a subject, but you also worked on the audio mixing of the documentary. So like,
Yes, sir.
well, I know, like, because you were mainly it was kind of like the latter half of the production because I did most of the editing, and then like to finalize and to kind of make everything sort of as a whole, you kind of did the final touches. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, what was your experience like working on one a big project that was for TV, but also just a TV project in general, like a professional project.
Different. Different because I work for community radio. I'm used to working with solely audio. I do either community radio or sound, like just sound. So
Hmm.
this was the first time that I was working on something that I had to also look at and make sure everything sounded like it looks, right? Even if the samples that I was using weren't coming exactly from the thing that was being shown, I had to make it sound like that was the thing that was being shown. Uh, were you asking me about the challenges?
Yeah. Like what was the most difficult thing and also the coolest thing, like something that was like, oh wow, this is actually quite cool. I get to do this because I know for music, like you said, or for like audio engineering for a radio is different because it's specifically for audio, so you don't have to add like sound design per se,
Yeah.
and make sure that everything makes sense with what you see. So I'm curious what like pros and cons of what you saw working on this project.
I feel really blessed because it was my first experience and you had given me that opportunity. I don't know where I would have been able to start doing audio for a visual. And it gave me, like, I didn't have a lot of belief in myself for any projects that I was doing, but when I finished this project I was like, okay, you can do that. um I really enjoyed, I really enjoyed just working with visuals. Like I never allowed myself to kind of do that before. And so having the chance to do that and having the chance to do that for the subject of what you were working on, so second generation immigrants that I care a lot about, um it was a really good experience. Also working, like learning how to work with a friend, but also having to keep that professionalism and knowing what you're doing and how you're working. I built a workflow. I did a new thing. I was able to like have conversations about like uh music and the intricacies, right? We were working with like mono music when usually that's not the standard.
Hmm.
And it's like all these little issues that will come during mixing production for movies and not. um I was able to experience and be able to say finally, like after never saying this, yeah, it's chill, it's gonna be fine. You know, like
Yeah.
instead of just fucking worrying all the time and being like, oh shit, it's gonna go horrible. And I was able to like have a like finally learn how to have a laissez-faire attitude towards something. But I think one of the cons was just like in translating like audio language to video language, sometimes when people ask for things, but this also happens in studio, is they ask you for like reverb, but that's not actually what they want. They want
Hmm.
echo. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So if somebody says like, oh, I want this volume to be louder, I take these words literally. And that was
Hmm.
my problem. That's something that I
Yeah.
had to learn not to do, and that I had a problem with during this production, that I know
All right.
forever that I'm gonna do better at in the future. You know what I mean?
Interesting. What specifically did you was it like the actual volume itself when I said go like make it louder, or was it more like what were the particular instances where you found those troubles?
It was specifically by the end. So we had gotten the first not draft, but like the first version of the audio done, and it was it was fairly good. And there were a few things that you wanted me to fix. And then with those few things came up new problems.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
with those new problems, like at the end, you were just like, make everything louder. And I had made everything louder, and you were like, that's too fucking loud, you know? And it's also being in a time crunch, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
know I know one of the biggest problems was like whenever because I know you added the compression, right?
yeah,
And so when you like lift one volume because of the compression, it kind of like it sort of I
yeah,
guess plateaus. So like everything kind of ends up being compressed or like it compressed a weird way. The wrong things are compressed. The right things are not compressed enough.
exactly.
And so like it just kind of sounded weird, and I don't
Yeah.
know. So I guess like also like, I'm curious, what was your workflow like to begin with? How'd you
Well,
start?
honestly, that also was an issue for me because I didn't have a workflow at first for doing audio for video. And I had taken a workflow as example from Benny. But I also had worked with Benny in studio with like doing music stuff. So my first version before the one I even sent you, I had run by Benny first, and he was like, way too fucking edited. He was like, this is too much. Like you're not trying to mix for music, which has to sound perfect. And because perfect is unrealistic,
Hmm.
right? So like he was like, this is way too clean for what you're trying to represent. These are people who you're interviewing, not like someone you have to make sure everything sounds perfect for.
Mm.
So the version before that, you never got to hear it, but it was like I didn't even hear it. I like my digital brain was just like, okay, I have to do this perfectly and it has to sound as clean as possible. But Benny was like, but now, but now it just doesn't match. Like now it's just too clean and too perfect that it's not that it's wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So my workflow ended up well being the same that he showed me, and that's like working on the dialogue first, and then working on the music, and then working on the SFX. And there wasn't a lot of SFX, but I was worried about the music part because I wanted to create an effect, right? But if I get like a mono music, I'm not able to create a specific effect that I'm looking to have where
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
sound waves are coming from different places. Like I can't pan.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, other than that, like yeah, it's the workflow was still the same workflow, but I had to understand that I don't need to do too much.
Mm. So
And
like
I
what
worked on it. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
what were you focusing on exactly to make it too perfect? Like what was the, because I didn't hear it. I didn't
Too
hear it, so I'm
clean.
curious.
Like there was no more air in the back. It was just dead air,
Oh,
you know?
oh, okay.
Like um people sounded like they started to sound like robots because I was removing like some breathing and some, you know what I mean? So it was just like instead of them sounding like they were in a room, they sounded like they were recorded in studio,
Mm,
and it just didn't match the visual. And that
gotcha.
I guess that's also a learning thing where like I didn't work with visuals before, so I didn't think about that. And I also had never worked in TV or film, so I'd never thought of that before.
Hmm.
But I'm lucky that I had Benny.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I had Benny, and I would also ask the teacher from RAC to give me some pointers as well before I continued past the point
Yeah.
of doing too much.
Because I know the things that we talked about were like another thing he was telling me, like, you know, when you, because dialogue is the most important thing. You want to always hear dialogue, right? But you
Yeah,
don't, like, at the same time you also want to hear the music, but you don't want it to like, you don't want to hear
overpowered.
the, yeah, you don't want to hear
Yeah,
the pan or
yeah. You
the
want it to stay like the
yeah.
same, whereas like instead of like hearing the dip of the music and then hearing the music
Yeah,
come
you don't want
up,
to. Yeah,
right?
you want it to dip and rise. You want it to be as uniform as possible. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, what were the, like, the pointers that he told you for that?
I don't think there was any specific pointers on like transitioning from dialogue to music. It was just that like it should sound similar the entire
Yeah.
time. Like we don't want to notice those things.
So like later on, because you know, there's in the documentary, there's instances where there's like clean audio where like you and I are having conversation, but then
Mhm.
also there's like dialogue where, for example, another subject is, you know, showcasing, you know, a room where there's a lot of echo.
Yeah.
So like I'm curious, like, how did you kind of like mix that? Were you trying to like minimize the amount of echo? What
Yeah.
was the, or were you trying to like really like make it sound as, I guess, as the same as possible, or like what was that like?
So there was one I had specific trouble with one that was outside. I can't remember his name, an
Okay, yeah,
engineer.
yeah,
And like there was this swing in the back that just kept going. And I was like, how do I get rid of this? And then also the echo in Gerald's audio, right?
yeah.
So it I just had to come to peace with with knowing that I can't fix everything. And that's
Mm,
what made it so clean, right? Like I tried to make it so clean that like you weren't hearing those things anymore, but it didn't make sense. It
hmm.
didn't make sense, like, because you could hear it try to suppress something that you can't suppress.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there are some things that you just need to record right in order to have clean.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Okay, I was trying to also like because I did a little bit of editing also for the audio. I was trying to also incorporate the environment. So a
Yeah.
lot like yeah, the seesaw was there, but I also tried to or the swing. I also tried to add in like a little bit of like wind, but also like leaves flying about. So like when
Yeah.
so I was just like that's also part of the sound effects when I was kind of I guess audio engineering the thing.
Yeah.
But like I'm curious, how did you sort of what was your process like into amplifying that experience? Because things you were in charge of mixing these levels. How did
Yeah.
you kind of like mix the levels, not perfectly, but as best as you could
As
with
best as I could. Yeah.
with the sound effects specifically?
I ended up adding some ambience.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I ended up adding like like I would cut sometimes because in between some people's talking, like there was like big noise that would happen that would like immerse you out.
Hmm.
So there's this plugin that you can take the ambient noise from the original audio,
Okay.
which I did. So I
Oh,
would take
interesting.
the ambient noise from the original audio and then I would just put it on top of the audio that I edited so that you would
Oh,
keep the ambient noise.
interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, it was like, of course, making the ambient noise a little lower, but making sure that it was there.
mhm.
Like, um, sometimes I would even like amplify the ambient noise before they even started talking. If you were doing like B-roll or something,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'd be and it was like windy and stuff. I'd be like, okay, we can add a little bit more of that, you know?
Yeah, because I was trying to like that was my one of my biggest issues because a lot of the things where I filmed the B roll specifically, but I didn't include much of the sound themselves, so I had to add
Mhm.
in my own. So I was
Yeah,
curious how you kind of incorporated, because I know I didn't send you a bunch of like random sounds for you to like,
yeah,
choose pick and choose. So I was curious how did you like really manage to immerse to keep the immersivity of it with the tools that you had.
yeah.
'Cause-
I guess because I didn't add any more, like my job was to mix, right? Not to
Yeah,
like add any new sounds into it. So I just tried to make sure that those sounds were there, that they,
you're
like with the closing and the opening of the doors in the metro and the it passing by, like in reality, that shit's loud,
yeah,
like in
yeah.
life, like that stuff's loud. And there was a point where like I didn't know if I didn't know if I should make it as loud as it is in real life or just give it the ambient noise so that people who are watching it will go, what the fuck was that?
So is the audio engineering for film and TV something you wish to do some more, and maybe are already doing? I don't know.
Uh,
Or is it
I
are
would
you,
say it's
you
not my favorite.
okay? Yeah.
Um, because it's a lot of like watching and rewatching and rewatching and rewatching.
Mm,
And like already with audio, like on the radio, I don't do it too much, but like already in radio, I need to make sure, like the things that need to be cut are cut, the like nothing gets lost. I feel like with the added addition of the visuals, having to rewatch it over and over and over in a short period of time, especially if it's one of those productions that like requires you to do things quickly, I feel like I go crazy a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, like I feel like I go crazy a little bit. Um, so I enjoy it, but I don't think I would work on a project like that over and over and over. It would have to be like a project that I believe in and like
mm,
have a personal connection to that I'm gonna work on and have that within me that I'm like, I care about the message that comes out. I care that it comes out in a manner that serves it justice for me to work on it without cutting corners.
mm. Are you a perfectionist in terms of audio engineering?
Yes, and sometimes that's twofold. A
Okay.
lot of the times twofold.
So
Um,
yeah. So how do you kind of counterbalance that?
Benny gave me this like this like acronym. Um, he would look at me and go, "Yo, remember the acronym?" I'm like, "Yeah, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. He's like, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I'm such a perfectionist that like it would lag in studio settings. It would lag on my work, and it did lag when I worked on your project because I worked on it for like 16 hours before I realized it's too much, and then I had to work from scratch so that I wouldn't have this like idea of how it's supposed to sound like.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
keep it
yeah, that was
simple, stupid.
yeah, that was something I was talking about him with him as well. It's like how when you're audio engineering, it's best to like not go too hard so that as you're going you could ask also for feedback from the director so you don't like go 100% and then oh actually we were meant to go the other way and
Yeah,
you have to go the whole the whole U-turn and come back.
yeah,
So that was something that was like very I also learned through editing as well is to like just do a rough cut and then sort of work your way towards the main goal instead of
yeah,
just going what you think is going to be the main goal but it's actually not.
yeah,
So you do a full
yeah.
on like so yeah, I'm curious also like since then what kind of projects have you tackled? I know you're also doing like musical theaters, which I'm curious about that as well. How did that go?
Oh, I did musical theater in high school, so it's always been kind of like one of those things that like you're shy and you're scared of singing, and then they're looking for someone in musical theater, and they're like, they like the teacher goes, that one right there, that one, you need to go and try that out. And like yeah, like I'd fallen in love with it in a sense where like I couldn't, I already wasn't good at focusing on school things, but it was like the thing I went to school for.
Mm.
Like I went like there was science and math and gym and whatever, and like I had friends, but like I went to school because I wanted to do music. I went to school because I wanted to sing, I wanted to play drums, I wanted to be in theater. So getting the chance to do that again and being chosen for such a big role was an experience. It was a beautiful experience, and everything has its like goods and bads, but for me the takeaway was that like I can continue to do this. Me as a person, I love to share the stories of other people, and in acting I feel like I I get to know the character, not just in a like an in a not just in a like surface way, but I have to become this person. So I have to empathize with this person.
Mhm.
Um and and I feel like that's something I don't have trouble doing with people in general. Uh but when you act as someone, you kind of also feel the pains of this person.
Mhm.
You have to feel them in order to be able to express them. And so it was a very great experience for me, and I got a lot of good feedback for that one. I enjoyed myself very much. I got to sing, I got to act, I got to be on a big stage again, and I got to make people feel. I got to make people cry, and that was my goal. I was like, I need all of y'all to have mental breakdowns in the crowd.
What are your favorite characters to play?
What are my favorite
Yeah,
characters?
what are your favorite characters to play? Are you more of the sort of the emotional type? Are you more of the like, I guess, sad, or happier like setting? What kind of characters are you looking for?
I think I'm good at playing a sad character. I think I'm good at playing like, or somebody that I feel like I think every character, because as human beings, you can find relate it like not can you can find connections with every person, no matter who they are, based on who you are, right? So I find it easier to play characters that I have more in common with. I
Mhm.
like the challenge of a character that I am completely not like, because then I have to learn why they are the way they are.
Mhm.
And it like gives me insight on why people are the way they are. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think I'm good at a sad character. Uh, I'd love to play a character I'm like completely disconnected from. Like, I don't
What
know.
kind of what kind of character would that be? Yeah.
Uh,
Because like whenever, for example, like, whenever I do, my closest thing to acting, honestly, is like when I write scripts themselves and also like film, but also at the same time I also play D&D. So the characters I create are kind of characters I might implement in like my future scripts. Not per se, but like the general characteristics, how he is, the mannerisms, the sort of mentality. So like the characters I like to sort of write or portray are often characters that are flawed, but like they're not they're to them they're always good guys. So even if they're bad, like objectively
Mm,
bad, to
yeah.
them they see themselves as the hero. And so, like for example, one of my characters is this like Napoleon kind of character who's very, very sort of like he's a member of like this high order that controls the world, etc., etc. But
Yeah.
to him, the reason why he created this order, and the reason why he has immersed himself into this like this I guess this character, I guess this evil sort of dictator, was because he saw what a perfect world could look like, and he only saw himself as the person that was able to achieve that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
like, I'm curious, what kind of characters are you gravitating to?
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
well, I think it'd be fun to play a character like that. That's the kind of character that I feel like I'm completely not like. Somebody who doesn't question like how it's affecting others, what's going on, and themselves. That's somebody that I'd have probably a bunch of trouble playing, but also learn a lot from playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm really interested in like in knowing that. But it's not the character I'd love to play. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like the character I think I'd love to play honestly would be myself. Just so that like I kind of want to know
What
what
if? What if? What if I took this decision instead of this decision?
what do you mean?
Because, like, for example, like if you were to play yourself as a character, you could explore things that you
Yeah.
yourself in real life you can't technically
Yes.
explore. So you can like go towards a route where you're not usually swayed to go to.
Yeah. But with the mentality I
But
personally
yeah,
have.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And I think that would be like a fun role to play just because like there's so many other ways it could go, but I don't have to do the groundwork of who I am, like figuring out who the character is first.
Mm.
Yeah. But I
So,
think all characters are different. So like playing any character is just fun.
mhm. So what was your what was your technique in terms of like immersing yourself into? I don't know, what character did you play in Rent?
I played Mimi.
Okay,
She's
so
a sex worker, stripper, different from who I am, like
yeah,
in personality. And well, there were some parts that I felt like connected me to her in a way where like turning to substance as a way to run away is it's something that like I feel like a lot of us have done. Um but uh like in a way where like I don't give a fuck about how like people will care about me. Like I don't want how would I explain Mimi? Shit.
so what was your process like into immersing yourself into Mimi? Like,
I I asked myself, where did she come from? Um, what was her life like before this happened? Because it's set in New York. It's the loyer is going up. They can't afford it. She's an addict. Um, the person who's enforcing the rent increases was also her pimp,
mm,
somebody that took advantage of her and like takes advantage of the fact that she is an addict and that she needs help. um like I thought about where she was before this, where she could have been, why she doesn't answer her mom's calls, uh why she turns to substance, um why she's a bad influence, why she doesn't like why she thinks this is fun and this is a reason to run away. Like
mm,
her whole mentality was I'm gonna die tomorrow anyway, so why the fuck not take the drug? You
mm,
know, why the
okay.
fuck not party and have fun? And this idea of fun, is it even a real idea of fun, or is it like,
Placebo.
yeah, like am I actually having fun taking this drug, or am I just like relieving all the bad things in my life, relieving all the sadness I feel?
Mm,
So I asked myself a lot of questions about her life and like where her mom is from, and just all those like what would a who is a person, why are
mm.
why are they the way they are?
Would you do you ever find yourself judging characters that not necessarily you're playing, but characters that are opposite you or other characters that are involved? So, for example, like a character of the pimp, for example, would you ever are you do you ever wonder the same backstory as to why he is the way he is or why she is the way she is? Or are you more like very much into because like I know there's some actors they like to understand the
Happened.
psychology of other people also. So like
Yeah.
how the characters they're playing would react to you know what I mean? Like if for example, if the character I'm playing is very empathetic, I want to be empathetic towards the character I am opposite against, right? So you want to
Yeah.
try and to be like, so why are you not a complete dick? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
have you ever find yourself doing it?
Um, I find myself doing it for the ones that the character finds herself doing it for.
Okay.
So let's say she has empathy for somebody or she like has this affinity towards somebody.
Mm,
I think about why is it so? And if she has empathy for this person, doesn't she think about what their psychology is like as well?
mm, gotcha.
But I don't do it if I know my character is selfish. If I know, not necessarily selfish in a bad way, but like
Yeah.
if I know that my character is only in her head, I get afraid of muddying who she is because me as Lorraine, as Laura, like I'm thinking about the empathy towards the character I'm not supposed to have empathy for.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried acting in front of a camera, like a film, for example, aside from the documentary, like as the character, not as Lorraine,
In front of a camera, like
like a film, for example, like you're acting because
oh
theater,
yeah, yeah,
because theater and film are two different things. And I was
yeah.
talking to Amy, who was another guest of mine that came before. He's an actor at NTS, a National Theater of Montreal there.
School.
Yeah, the Theater
Yeah,
School of Montreal. And
yeah,
so he was talking about his experience working as because obviously in theater you have kind of one day or like not one day but like you have one kind of big day if you will where
yeah,
you have to like rehearse and then boom showcase whereas like film you don't really do the whole thing in one sequence. You shoot like one scene at a time, and usually you take different angles. So you've done like the scene a million times that one day, and then you
yeah.
go into the next scene, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I was wondering if you ever done like film or TV before, what would be like your experience in kind of tackling that because it's kind of a different process, if you will.
Yeah, I haven't acted for film or TV, but I have acted for like in terms of being in front of a camera. I've acted for
Music video.
educational. Oh, one, yeah, music videos.
Yeah, I see,
Like
I saw-
I'm good at pretending I'm in love. I'm good at that shit. um,
I don't know if
um,
that's good or bad, but okay.
no, it's a good thing I'm honest with the people it's a good thing I'm honest with the people around me. But so I've done music videos, but I've also done educational videos for McGill from like what's it called? Like I think it was a thing about dementia, and I was
Okay.
playing the daughter of a dude, an old man who had dementia,
Mm,
and I'd done a lot of musical theater. Well, not a lot, but like 3 productions of musical theater where I was the main role.
mm.
And I can tell you the big difference is having a camera in front of you is like it like gives you more anxiety, or at least me, it gave me much more anxiety that
Really?
even if I knew my lines by heart in front of the camera, it was like you can't hide that you're looking for your lines because the camera's in front of your face. It
Yeah.
takes all of your
Expressions.
expressions.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're on stage in a theater setting, people are far away. You have to actually like project your voice to the back. You actually have to move your body like you're feeling this emotion. Whereas if it's a camera in front of you, that might be too much. It has
Mhm.
to be in the subtle movements. It has to be in the subtle facial expressions. But if I'm looking like I'm looking for my line, you're gonna know.
I find it like I don't know, like I agree with that because it's like it's well for the wide shots that's more kind of like the same thing as theater where you could literally do whatever as like if
Yeah.
for example, especially when you're doing one side you're only doing one side of your shot whereas when you're doing close-ups usually whenever you do close-ups you kind of have like a prep moment prior and so you have like a lead up to the actual scene like an élan so that
Yeah.
you have that momentum going and then action and then you do your
Yeah.
scene it's kind of like it's fluid So I feel like a lot of people have. I don't know. Me, for example, I have the opposite kind of problem where I think I find theater because I've also done a couple of theater in high school and also the Shishep where for me theater was kind of like it's more jarring because you have the people live in front of you. You know what I mean?
Uh,
So like behind the camera because I also been in front of the camera, but being in front of the camera for me because I am literally in front of a camera, I could do whatever. You know, I could take as many takes as I want.
true.
I don't have to worry about like people's idea of me, and then, until I get the perfect one, I'm like okay. Now I'm good enough. I'm confident enough to for this take we can move on. Whereas in theater, you're kind of like, shit. Like the guy's literally in first row, and he might judge you. And then I don't want the lady at like I don't know row 70 be like, "And what you say? I can't hear what you're saying." You know what I mean? I feel like that's more jarring. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
your experience for theater, you find like the crowd was like not distracting, but like an issue, or was very easy to like let them flow behind in the background.
I honestly think I have an easier time working on acting when I have a community with me.
Mm,
So like in musical theater, a lot of the time you have a lot of other people that are on stage with you, and you've rehearsed it so many times that they might know your lines as well. And so like there have been a couple of times where like people have lost their lines or forgotten their lines, but another person is able to catch it. And the thing about musical or theater in general, like um it you kind of like live on your toes, you know?
mm,
So like
yeah.
if you make a mistake, you just got to make sure the public understands.
Mhm.
So if someone can catch your line or if you can play it off like nothing happened,
Yeah.
that's like the main thing. And maybe it's just because I'm used to it that I
Mhm.
like I worry so much when I'm in front of the camera because I worry about them having to take after take after take after take.
Yeah.
Whereas in musical theater, the moment just passes, you know?
Gotcha. You prefer being
And
in front or behind of the camera? Because you do audio engineering, which is technically behind the camera,
yeah,
versus singer slash performer. Do you prefer being in front of the camera? What's your take?
as a singer, because I feel like acting and singing is a different thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, like,
Yeah,
you can also act and like is singing when you're singing, you're performing, right?
yeah,
Live. I mean,
yeah,
when you're performing, you're kind of a character. Like, so
yeah.
you gotta do a bunch of, you know what I mean, like Beyonce, and Lady Gaga are perfect examples of like the perfect mesh. Whereas they're singing, but they also acting as Queen Bee or whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
like I'm curious, what like do you prefer being in front of the camera, the spotlight, or you prefer being low key in the back? Like, hey, yeah, I'm just playing with my
From
keys.
my from my couple of years of working in audio and behind the scenes, what I learned ultimately is that I enjoy being on stage.
Okay.
I enjoy being on stage more than I enjoy being in the background scenes.
Mm.
It's in the time since the documentary, I also did live sound for other bands, so I would mix them live. Um, but yeah, so I prefer to be as a singer, I prefer to be on stage. As an actress, I also prefer to be on stage rather than in front of the camera. I think being in front of the camera still gives me a little bit of anxiety.
Mhm.
um, and and acting and singing, like I still haven't found that mesh where I can act as Laura on stage. So
Oh, really?
yeah. So I can be any character that like any character in musical theater. You give me a role, you give me her like background
Accept
story and whatever,
yourself. Accept
except
yourself
myself.
as
Like
a character.
if you've ever seen me at a show, like I'm always like, "Hi, I'm Laura. If you like my music, you can find me on Spotify. I'm a little nervous, like I can
Yeah,
never like the way you know me, like the way I am, like I can be like outgoing and just chill, but I can't find a way to like put that on stage.
but that's your dream
And
character. That's your dream character,
it is.
yourself. Why don't you put in like the same?
Gotta
You know what
take
I mean?
practice,
Oof.
and that's what I'm trying to do. Like that's what I feel like I'm settling into now.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So like, well, I mean, since the doc, we filmed the doc a year ago. Has anything changed in terms of like views you've had on life, but on also on like your career, on anything really? Because I know you're talking a lot. You tackle a lot. Like in the documentary, you kind of talk your upbringing, but also like what you expect yourself to do later on.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, have you changed kind of like courses a little bit? Have you? What was It's been a year, so you know.
Yeah, it's been a year.
Uh,
Um, well, while I love working in audio, it's real that it's a precarious job. It's real that it's something that like now I find myself telling myself that like I'd like to do a part-time job that reminds me why I do audio. You know what I mean? I'd like to find a part-time job that has nothing to do with audio so that I can, you know, still have these human experiences without feeling disconnected. Because you live a very different life when you go freelance compared to the person that has a 9 to 5.
Yep.
So that has changed. I like the idea of seeing people again and seeing people in not an audio sense where I'm just the tech person. In terms of music, I have more recently than right after right after the documentary finished, I've become more laissez-faire in my like musical endeavors. Like I learned that I had to believe in my craft first before being able to make promises of releasing to people. I have to believe in what I do and like tell myself I actually enjoy what I listen to when I do what I do, rather than being like, oh, what do they think what are they gonna think? What are they gonna like it? Like, who the fuck cares if they're gonna like it? If I like it is what matters. And that's what made my first 2 songs. And then I started getting in my head. So that also changed. Like now I'm settling into a more laissez-faire mentality of like, it's gonna happen. I just like, I need to believe in it and focus on it.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process, basically. Yeah. And that's like I find very different from how I used to think. I was so used to like, you know, so strict and tight and worried, and like it didn't get me anywhere. It made me sit there and just worry rather than like biting the bullet. And now I'm learning like the only way out is through.
So like how do you now like prioritize your workflow and also manage your workflow realistically? Like I know before you were kind of like, I got to do this whole album, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. So how do you kind of prioritize? Is it based off interest? Is it based off of what this project can potentially give you in the future? Like how do you prioritize your workflow in terms of like not even just, you know, like audio engineering wise, but just like how, you know, whatever comes your way?
Depending on if I'm like lacking money that month or something, like I have to prioritize the money because we live in a capitalistic society. So no choice sometimes but to go and do that gig that is going to give you the couple of $100 that you need. But in terms of music, I've learned and how I prioritize it and how I like work on it is that instead of ignoring the call when I feel the itch, I drop everything that I'm doing in that moment to respond to the itch.
So like not like what was the thing like, I guess, changed and pivoted that sort of, or that sort of that was the catalyst towards that change? Was it something that, you know, could you have mentors, and so like did they tell you to just chillax? Because I know I've been saying a bunch of things over the years.
You've been telling me to chillax.
So yeah, I'm curious. What was the thing that what was the straw that broke the camel's back, as I say?
Yeah, because like all my mentors have been telling me to chillax.
Everyone's been telling you.
Everyone's been telling me to chillax.
Benny and I were like, yo, for real, we got you gotta chill, man.
Kind of just like, I think it came with time. It came with time and the fact that with time I grew more tired of not having something out. And with time I did a lot of community work. Like the thing that called to me the most second after my music was putting out the voices of the people in my community and the people who are struggling and the people whose voices I can amplify, that I have the power to. So I responded to those itches, those calls, and I didn't listen to my music. But then when I realized, like at the end, like I reached like a year of Radio Capua, like maybe 4 months ago, and I was like, whoa, I had like accomplished all that. And I didn't realize that with time, it was just creating itself and building itself. That like, that was the second itch that I was responding to. I was like, what if I had also listened to the first itch? And also like seeing all these emerging artists and like people who look like me in the media, bro. Like this Filipino boom has been like like doing good on my
Self-esteem.
confidence, because I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, we could have been like this, you know?
Mm.
So there's that too. Yeah, but I think most of all, I grew tired of like bringing myself down. Eventually, like that's all people hear. Like that's all my
Yeah.
friends hear, and they're just like, eventually they give up, right? Because like
Yeah.
I don't listen.
So like speaking of music, have you done progress on your album and is there music coming out?
Yes. So my plan is having it done before 2023 ends. So let's see if I'm able to keep that up. But at the same time, I have to be realistic with myself. Like I believe I can get it done within the next month.
Mhm.
Um, and how I have to accept that however it's going to be by that time is however it's going to come out. Instead of being like, oh no, there's a little bit more I need to, there's a little bit more I need to, just get it done, honey. Just get the only way out is through.
Well, what was the biggest struggle of like finishing the album or albums? I don't know.
Uh, oof.
Was
Same as it's always been. It's kind of just been belief in myself, like perfectionism and belief in myself. Like, are you good enough for this? Does this sound good enough? Is it like, and what the fuck is even good enough? You know what I mean? What is that?
yeah, yeah, what is that like? Is it fear of like how the others would perceive it, or is it mostly you personally are not content with the way it is? Because I know it happens to me a lot of times. I mean, God knows that like a lot of like my previous projects had like 15 million freaking versions of them, and
Yeah.
like so like because every little tiny detail I had to like make perfect. But in
Yeah.
the end, like oh now I don't really care about that film. Like I don't like it.
Yeah, you know, you do this and then you end up doing better things and you learn from the last one,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious, what was your kind of like biggest struggle on that front? Like, what is it like? Very much the idea of other people perceiving it badly, or is just very much you not liking it the way it is at the moment, or
Um,
both?
I think both, but I think about people seeing it as like either the content of it, like either the content of it sounds a little like, you know, like I go through shit and then I put it in my music, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm afraid, I used to be afraid of sounding like complaining or like talking about my family in a way that like shows our struggle,
Mhm.
when it's something that like it's music, it's gonna come out, you know what I mean? But being afraid of what that's going to be perceived like, I think I was more afraid of that than I wanted to admit.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Drake and Taylor Swift made millions of dollars out of doing exactly that. So, I mean, I don't think that's much of a bad thing.
Yeah, on the money front, but on the emotion front and the fear of
I
like,
mean,
you know, breaking relationships that I had built with my parents finally, you know, and
okay.
then airing out not dirty laundry, but like things they might not be proud of. Like
Mm.
I one time I showed my mom a song and she tried to correct it. She tried to change the lyrics and I was like, it's not how this works. And it didn't even rhyme, bro.
So like, if, as a final question, what will be the goal for next year? Would it be to finish the album and actually release it? What is it? Tackling new kind of unknown projects that you have not tried yet? Maybe actually moving, into film, being an actor. Who knows? Well, what do you think?
I think
I always like to do that. Like me, I'm so competitive. Like
yeah.
it's unhealthily bad. Like I've learned to like chill out. Like whenever I see someone release a project, I'm like, is the current project coming out like the current project I'm working on right now is it good enough to beat that? If not, then I gotta go hard. And I just release like three projects to like drop it. I'm like, okay, we're chill.
Yeah.
I can sit back now and wait
Yeah.
until the next guy comes up. But like, yeah, I'm so hyper competitive. So I'm curious if you are you like that as well, or are you just gonna nah?
Nah,
Damn.
not at all. I'm really not like that. Like, I love to give people their flowers for the things that they do. I love to like support people on the things that they do.
Oh, don't get me
Such
wrong.
that like
Don't get me wrong. I like the support. I'll drop. I'll be like, okay, cool. You did that, and I'll
no,
smoke
but to a fault for
it.
me sometimes. To a fault for me where I'm like, oh, if they're doing this, maybe it's not my thing. Maybe it's not my
Oh,
thing
use
to
the opposite.
do.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Like oh, they're doing this so well. Okay, it's not my lane. You know what I mean? But it
Gotcha.
can be. Why
Mm,
not? You know what I mean? Rather
gotcha.
than like I'm supporting them so much that I worry that if I try it, they're gonna think I'm copying them and
Yeah. Okay.
trying to compete with them. When in reality, I would think it's a fun thing to try or do. You know?
Gotcha.
So I think in the next year, that's something instead of like bringing myself down, instead of
Yeah.
telling myself, you know, that's theirs and that's only theirs. Um, that like if I find inspiration from you, I just tell you, fuck, I found inspiration from you. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's
but I
yeah.
want to try this.
That's everyone. I think that's everyone.
Yeah.
So that's
Because
the
I
next.
yeah.
That's the goal for next year. Try new
Yeah.
things.
And also like to work on everything that just my heart calls to. Like pushing past the fear. I think
Mm,
that's gonna be my thing. Like if it's an acting job and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should act in it because blah 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 XYZ, I'm gonna be like, let's try it anyway because I was offered it. Let's try it anyway, you know.
mm-hmm.
Whether it's like, because I love doing everything that I do. I love being a multidisciplinary artist where I work on audio. I like today I interviewed people like healthcare workers on strike. I want to keep doing that. I want to keep putting the word out there. um like I for the radio show, I was mostly an audio engineer, but I want to start stepping into the light of like being more of a host in this in this show, making more music, just doing everything that calls to me and not having to go, well, I'm just this one thing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. I mean, yeah, that's also something I'm trying to do as well. The thing is, like, learning to juggle that, but like also keeping your sanity is probably the biggest issue, because
Yeah,
it's like you always want to try a million things, but you forget that life is long and you could just
yeah,
spread it out. You don't have to do
yeah,
everything today, and
yeah.
so that's something I'm learning over the years as well to like just you know
Slow
pick
down.
pick one thing and then we'll just we'll do that.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So any projects coming out, promote them. Any theater sort of appearances you want to talk about? Any a book you're writing? I don't care. Whatever. Promote.
No theater things for now. I've decided to take like productions are huge and like I like to space those out
Mm,
until I find a role that I find I really connect with. When it comes to music, expect music because that's my main focus right now.
mhm.
Uh, there's the radio show Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. That's gonna make some changes, but is also going to highlight so many more people that I have like my heart and soul given to. Centre Kapwa, we're hoping to open a physical community center.
Oh, it's
We
not
can,
physical right now. It's not
it's
open.
not yet, no.
Oh, I thought it was.
Um, no,
Oh,
but
damn.
we do hold like big events where we invite a bunch of people from the community to like talk about things we don't regularly talk about. Um, yeah, so expect me in a lot of community work because it's what calls to me and what I love to do. I also I don't know if this is something that I want to like add, but I'm working on doing songwriting workshops
Mm,
and radio show creation workshops, hopefully at Chalet Kent. So
okay.
there's this agreement that we can do workshops, but I'm just afraid that like there might not be enough funding for like kids to get their own laptops
Gotcha.
and microphones and stuff like that to create it. So maybe it'll be other workshops, but just expect South Kapwa, Radyo Kapwa to be doing workshops on audio, radio, theater, music, like singer songwriting, like
Yeah.
something around those lines. Because I feel like our community deserves more.
Sick. Send me the links. I'll put them all in the description below, so they could check out your music, but also like if you have events coming out, like the, you know, projects that Capua has.
Awesome.
Send me all the links. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Lorraine, for being a guest on my podcast.
Thank you,
See,
Daryl.
you're already stepping up. You're a guest. Next, gonna be a host. It's crazy. Natural evolution.
Both of us interviewing people or
Yeah.
just having conversations on
Yeah.
air?
Why not? Why not? Yeah, that's how you learn. Like this is why I'm doing this thing, because I wanna learn more about other things, and the best way to learn is to ask people who know about things. Yeah. So thank you again for being on my podcast. And yeah, see you guys next time for another episode and another guest.
Time aside, I could move with pride, I could live a lie, but I'd rather try. See, it's hard to tell in this universe if using verses to get pretty girls is really worth it.